Hello everyone, Mason here. How are you doing? Welcome to day 5 of the Tag Marathon, the Efftup Book Tag. Originally created by Guilty Feet, I was tagged by Alicia Reads and Rambles. Both of those channels will be linked in the description. We're all adults here, aren't we? Why is it called the Efftup Book Tag? Probably so that we don't have to say over and over again. Spoil sports. This video will contain spoilers, because you can't really explain why a book is effed up without them. Let's get to it. A book that's effed up in a good way. First off, I have to go with the Demon Hunter series by Darren Shan. It's beyond me how that series was marketed as young adult. It is gruesome as F. Seriously, in the first book, Lord Lost, within the first few chapters, the protagonist comes home to find his family brutally murdered. One of the monsters that did it wears his sister's face as a mask. Later in the series, there's a giant scorpion monster that uses its stinger to pop people's eyeballs and put maggots in the sockets. I don't know how I finished that series. In a less over-the-top example, there's Close Your Eyes by Rachel Abbott, book 10 in the Tom Douglas series, which features a cult leader who, amongst sleeping with other women, sleeps with multiple members of the same family, one of which is a lot younger than he is. And when he gets people pregnant, he gives them a medicinal drink that is actually just designed to make them have an abortion. I feel weird saying that they're effed up in a good way considering the stuff that I just told you, but the cult aspect of Close Your Eyes is extremely interesting, and I've never read about a cult before, so I was just gripped by it. As for the Demon Hunter, it's genuinely good. I don't know how I finished that series, it makes no sense to me. It should have terrified me. Maybe it's just that over the top that it went past scary into cool, I don't know. Effed up in a bad way. I'm going with Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I love that film. I hated the book. I finished it, but I hated it. It was just weird. I couldn't get my head around it, and it wasn't a good confusion. I felt like Vandermeer was writing a lot, but not saying much at all. It was quite annoying, to be honest. I went into it thinking I was gonna love it, and just couldn't stand it. A book that everyone else loves but you think is effed up. I don't really have a decent answer for this question. Joe Abercrombie's First Law seems to be pretty popular, and that has a character that tortures people that everyone seems to love, which I think is pretty effed up. But I don't feel like I'm in a good position to judge them considering I just recommended the Demon Hunter. Seriously, maybe I will have to try First Law at some point. Considering the stuff that I'm now remembering about the Demon Hunter, can the grim dark nature of First Law really be that bad? A book that's sexy AF dub. Right, I don't really remember much about this one at all, but I do know that as a teen, my dad bought me the Harry Potter parody Barry Trotter. Worst name ever. I do remember that there's some pretty explicit sex scenes in that book though. I remember sitting there thinking if they knew what was in this, they would take it away from me, so I didn't tell them what was in it. Effed up for kids. Pretty much anything by Roald Dahl, to be honest. I mean, think about it. Matilda, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and the Witches. Matilda is literally a neglected child that uses superpowers to terrorise her parents. And let's not forget about Trunchbull locking them in the chokey. Do I really need to say anything about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? I think at this point we've all accepted that one is pretty effed up when you look into it. As for the Witches, they're essentially an organised crime unit with clawed hands, no toes on the feet that try and lure children in so they can kill them. The protagonist spends the whole book as a mouse trying to avoid being murdered. An effed up classic. I mean, I haven't read it since I was in high school, but Great Expectations is pretty effed up really. Miss Havisham is this poor woman that gets jilted at the altar, has a mental breakdown, becomes a recluse, refuses to ever take off her wedding dress, breaks the clocks in her house so that they remain at the time when she had her heart broken, and raises her daughter to break the hearts of men as revenge. Then when she finally realises what she's done to Pip and starts to repent, she gets so badly burnt that she ends up dying. An effed up non-fiction. I don't read that much non-fiction. The last one I read was Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs, which is written by Caitlin Dowdy, a mortician, and features questions about death asked by children. Pretty good candidate, actually. A book that is misery porn, designed to convince you how effed up the world is. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. 1984 might not be about how effed up the world is, but it's definitely about how effed up the world could be, and it's most certainly misery porn. It's literally about people being indoctrinated, subjugated, their freedom and humanity being stripped away. And you know, Winston is tortured for a good portion of the book before they eventually convince him to betray the person he loves by threatening to let rats eat his face. I didn't have answers for translated or illustrated, the latter is obvious why. I just thought I'd skip them. My question for today is this: is there something you read when you were a teen you probably shouldn't have? Something that would have gotten you in trouble if your parents had known what it contained? That's it for day 5. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, the like and subscribe buttons are just sitting there waiting to be pressed. Now press them, or else. Or else what? You don't want to find out, mate. If you want to get in touch, say hi and have a chat, you know where the comments section is, and the link to my Twitter is in the description. Thanks ever so much for spending time with me today, guys. Until tomorrow, take care. For now I'm off, and you should have a good one.